one because of the word fungi. We hear about it and people kind of, but our guest today, Dr. Arturo Casadevall, an entomologist, professor, and inventor, is the author of What If Fungi Win? How are you, Dr. Arturo? And, I guess, what do you see when people talk about fungi?
Uh, Hi, Neil. Thank you so much for having me in your show. What do it depends. As you said, some people are scared of it, and some people just love mushrooms. It depends on your vantage point.
And why? Why is that? Kind of giving the history and background why.
Well, I think that for many, when they hear the word fungi, fungus or so, they associate it with a nail toe fungus or athlete's foot. And that's the bad side of it. On the other hand, you have the good side of it. You have the mushrooms, the fact that you can't have wine without the fungi. You need fermentation. So it's a whole kingdom. And they bring us some of the best parts of life, but they can also cause some great deal of pain in other areas.
Why did you write the book?
Why did I write the book? I wanted to write something for the general public that communicated the wonderful world of the fungi and also made people aware of this invisible kingdom. We don't see it. The only way you see it is when it rains and you go outside and you see a mushroom pop up. It's everywhere. It's essential for life, and yet it's so little known.
So, without giving the book away, especially we have a lot of time to talk, so we're gonna in this interview, because that's the artist part. You don't want to give away the book, but you want people to go out and buy it. And I already think it's an intriguing thing. I think that looking at your whole stance, as we talked about in the green room, is for people not to fear this and to use this to their advantage from their health. So ultimately, there's a health standpoint to this. Why a health standpoint in the writing of the book?
Well, eating mushrooms is healthy. It has been associated with a lot of health benefits. They trigger immunity. They provide fiber. They taste great. They make a lot of food so much better. Think about pizza with mushrooms, pasta with mushrooms. But it's also important to know that they are some of the sources of the major medicines. For example, antibiotics, the drugs that we use to lower cholesterol, some of the drugs that we use to prevent transplants from getting rejected. So there is a whole world out there on the fungi, and then there is the what we call the bad side, that they can cause very serious disease, and that people need to be aware of this spectrum that ranges from wonderful things to terrible things.
and and you want to tell both sides, right?
Exactly.
What
I
is your background makes you want to tell both sides? Like, what is the ultimate goal you want to get from people that read the book?
So my background, you got to understand that we're all colored by our experiences, and my experiences as a physician, coming of age during the first days of the AIDS pandemic, the fungi were terrible because here you had people with impaired immune systems getting fungal diseases that were often incurable. So that colored a lot of how I saw it, and that colored my career. I went into medical research to try to find cures for fungal diseases. On the other hand, when I began reading about it and when I began educating myself, because you're never too educated for the fungal world, it's just too enormous. Then I began to realize all the nuances and all the wonderful things we did and how life as we know it is impossible without the fungi.
And are you hoping in your practice and your research to really get people to more and more utilize them more? I think that's the big thing is to know to, but also recognize the diseases because there's diseases out there too, but like ones that aren't identified till it's too late in a way that really affects you pain wise or really serious health because certain of these diseases cause death.
That's right, Neil. You hit it right on the head. Among the audience are physicians, physicians like me. It turns out that often they don't think of fungal disease. They think of a lot of other things before they think of the fungal disease. And that is a problem because you want to treat all infectious diseases, and in particular fungal diseases, early. So you want to make the diagnosis early. So there are a lot of audiences for this book. They range from the general public, but I also want a specialist to notice that there is a lot of nuances here.
That seems like a lot of nuances, and that's the intriguing part. What diseases should we look out for as the little like symptoms, things like that, that we should see if we think we have fungal disease of some
Well,
sort?
I want to reassure the audience that for most people with normal immune systems, the fungal world is not a deadly threat. You can still get athlete's foot. You can still get nail fungus. You can still get dandruff, but those things don't kill you. It is so. I want to reassure people that don't begin worrying about dying of fungal disease. However, I want to make people aware that as medicine has progressed and we made medical progress, it often comes at the price of immunity. What do I mean by that? You can treat cancer, but many of the cancer drugs make you immunosuppress. Somebody may have kidney failure. They may get a new kidney transplant. Well, the drugs to prevent rejection make you immunosuppress. And then what happens is that we increase in the number of immunosuppressed patients every year. And this population is at risk for fungal diseases. So important thing is awareness. Most of you are not at risk. But when people become immunosuppressed, this group of organisms are a major threat.
Wow. That's the part of it, that if you have immune deficiency, anything can spread, right?
That's right.
And I didn't know that. So, if you talk about athlete's foot or different things like that, identifying those things and curing them and things like that. But there's other fungal diseases, right? Like on the hand or different things. You don't just see it on the athlete's foot, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are the major fungal diseases, the ones that really are life-threatening, we tend to acquire them by inhalation. You breathe them. For example,
Oh,
people out in the Southwest can get a fungus called coccidiomycosis. Now, 99% of the people resolve it. They may get the equivalent of a cold. In the Ohio River Valley, we have another fungus called histoplasmosis, Histoplasma capsulatum. And these can be quite serious. However, people who live in the area are often infected, but it's a mild disease. In other words, they get something, I don't feel too good. I may have a cough for a few days and they kind of resolve it. However, when the immune system is impaired, these things can take hold. And when they take hold, they are very, very difficult to treat.
sounds like it. I mean, and so you're hoping that people that do have immune deficiency, their doctors look out for it more. Look out for how do you kind of keep yourself from not getting these diseases, especially if you're immune deficient.
That's right, Neil. I think it takes a village. I think the important thing is people need to be aware, because you can often alert your doctor and say, "Hey, doc, do I have to worry about a fungal disease?" Often just a conversation like that would trigger looking into it or not looking into it. That could be very reassuring. But what I would like is I want the public to be aware. I want the medical profession to be more aware than it is. And I want, researchers and all that to focus on this group of organisms, because when they cause disease, it is just very difficult to treat and they carry a high mortality.
And so but are there any deadly invasive diseases out
Absolutely.
there that are
Yeah,
not for immune that are not immune deficient for immune deficient people?
they are, but they are very rare. I mean, it is extremely rare for an individual to present to a hospital with what we call an invasive fungal disease who doesn't have some immunosuppression. It is extremely rare. It can happen, but again, it's not what we see all the time, and therefore, it should be reassuring to our listeners that we're not talking about something that for most people is a threat. However, for a specific group of people, those that are immunosuppressed, and I think most people know somebody who's immunosuppressed because we all know people with
Totally.
cancer, then that group of individuals are at greater risk.
In other countries, are there other more fungal diseases out there?
Oh yeah, in fact we are relatively lucky in North America in that we have only a few. As you move into the equator, there are a variety of fungal. There is a lot more life there. There's a lot more opportunities. There is something called Madura foot, which is really nasty. It's a disease caused by individuals who don't wear shoes, in which this fungi live on the ground, and then you step on a rock that is contaminated. You get a small wound. They get into it, and it becomes a lifelong infection that is very disfiguring. In fact, the World Health Organization has been focused on this because we're talking about many millions of people who are affected with this type of disease. Fortunately, not a big problem in the United States, but a big problem for humanity elsewhere.
100%. And you think about those things and you say to yourself, how you're hoping worldwide people get to read this book, right? Not just in the United States.
That's right. That's right. I
So
think
you,
awareness is our first line of defense. Being aware, because that triggers a lot of other things.
so physicians, a lot of physicians don't know what you've discovered, or they are not. What have you kind of gotten in feedback from coming out with the book?
Well, I think specialists in the field, infectious disease doctors, are aware. I think the problem that some physicians may have is that if you don't see it, you don't think about it. And generally, if you're talking about what kind of patients they treat, they may not be as familiar. But in generally, most doctors, when they run into this kind of problem, seek help from an infectious disease doctor, and that expertise is available
All right. The best place people could pick up the book is where can they go?
everywhere. It's available in Amazon. It's available from the Johns Hopkins Press. Uh, I think that if you just put it online, what if fungi win? It'll come up, and there are multiple places to pick it up.
All right. So I'm going to go. Why is it not fungi? Some people say it fungi and fungi. Is there a correct pronunciation?
I don't know.
Am I going to get in trouble early this morning of doing an interview? If I don't know if you Googled me, I do interviews everywhere. I want to make sure, is it fungi or fungi? There's no proper.
Neil, we could add a complication to that. Some people call him fungi.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, you're getting so I'm in trouble. So
So
there's no
don't,
wrong. There's three ways to say
at least.
at least.
At
So,
least I
what,
think that let's just be gentle. If they say fungi, we'll just know that they're talking about
all right.
fungus.
Okay. And people can reach out to you directly too, right? And have
Absolutely.
conversations. You're hoping to have that too. They'll have those dialogue.
Absolutely. I answer my emails.
All right. See, hey, you say that, then you end up. Is there a hope for you to do a documentary on this with this book, or go further, deeper into this after?
I don't know. Usually what happens is that if somebody who wants to do a documentary picks it up and wants to do more, certainly we are more than happy to work with them. As you know, a lot of those things, there's a kind of random aspect of it. So who picks it up, who's interested, who will do it.
All
But
right.
right now there are no plans.
Well, you just get out there, got to talk about it for sure. But it's something I learned something really early this morning that's very intriguing in so many ways because I think about it and say, okay, now if one of my kids at one point could be autoimmune deficient at one point through sickness or certain things, or to understand mushrooms more. I think the way that we can go deeper on this is the mushrooms as a health, how important it is. So you recommend people have mushrooms every day, would you say?
I try to eat them whenever I see them available. I think they're really good for you.
See, I didn't like mushrooms, man, back in the day when I was a kid, but now I love them. I don't
I,
get it. And
you
I like
know,
them roasted. Why is that? But I won't eat other vegetables, but I'll eat mushrooms.
Neil, taste changed through life. I didn't like mushrooms either. I like them now. I hope I keep it.
Now you've had them roasted, right? They're awesome roasted
Right.
mushrooms. Yeah, okay. Thanks again, Dr. Otero. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil, for having me.
You're